So by definition, the body is designed to sustain the fight or flight response only for a short amount of time. We're not meant to sustain these extended periods of stress that we find ourselves in. Otherwise, it inevitably leads to illness or death. The stress system has become so ingrained in our daily lives, to recover, we must get out of this state of fear that we live in. And so our health is a reflection of our vitality. When people are in love, we say that they glow, they look happy. And when we are sick, a life force is drained from us. We need to get rest. We need to be able to supplement that energy to replace what we might have lost. And so nature is telling you to move into the higher vibration of love instead of the lower vibration or frequency of fear, of these negative emotions that we feel. But I kind of like calling them learning emotions. But it's how we naturally sustain our life. And this is part of what makes this technique so natural, because your body is already doing what it's supposed to be doing. We need to just kind of get out of the way. And so in the old days, we were taught that our genes were the programs that controlled our lives. Now, through epigenetics, we have learned that the genes are actually controlled by the environment, both internally and externally, or the perception of our environment. And so we think of ourselves as single individual entities, when in fact we're comprised of 50 trillion individual living cells, each with their own life cycle. Each part of your body, each cell in your body knows what its task is, what the purpose is that it has. Your heart cell knows it's a heart cell, what it needs to do. It's not going to try and do the function of your kidneys, for instance. But it's a micro community, just as you are part of a macro community, a universal community. And so when we talk about consciousness, we understand our place within the macro and the micro communities, or the macrocosm or the microcosm that we find ourselves in. And so if the leadership is off, the population is in dis-ease, in disease. And in the case of cancer cells, they are so upset at the leadership that is not supporting their vitality. And this is why we say that anger is the root of cancer. And if we change our perception, we can change our gene activity. But it still is just talking about the symptoms of the issues that we have in our lives. We have a little better understanding of why things work the way that they do, but it's vital that we get to the root for more permanent change. We want to stop treating just the symptoms, treat the root, and clear up the symptoms so we don't have to get those messages anymore. We want to learn those lessons. And this goes beyond the physical sciences. We are a part of this self-aware universe. In a world of post-quantum physics, everything kind of changed around the time that we developed atomic power, the technology that we were able to gain after that. And things really are starting to speed up here. And I think in the next 20, 30 years, we're going to see some miraculous advances within the medical field and also within the sciences. But we're operating from a level in the cosmic reality where we need to understand that consciousness and mind is present on every level. It's just the vibration or the frequency that varies. Just like a radio station. The radio is not the apparatus that creates the signals, the broadcast that you're listening to. That's generated somewhere else, but the radio can tune into any of those stations if you turn the dial. And so the body is a receiver, is your tool. It's an apparatus, and the consciousness are the different frequencies that we tune into. And so human beings, we like to label things. We like to call things metaphysical. And I really feel like a lot of these terms are being redefined. And the term metaphysical, well, that's just a term that we use when we don't understand the science of phenomena. And I would challenge you to say that there is no such thing necessarily as metaphysical in that sense. It's all what level of consciousness we are coming from. And so the consciousness and mind that is present on every level, when we understand that, we have to get past our perceptions, our ideas, or beliefs of what is possible, because anything is possible. You have to approach the subject with humility. To me, that's an integral part of what I do, because the biggest mistake that we make as humans is thinking that we know everything. Every generation thinks that we know everything. In the late 1800s, there was the gentleman that worked in the patent office and proclaimed, well, we can just close the patent office because everything that has ever been discovered has been invented. Well, we know what's happened since then, but it's a crucial mistake that we make, thinking that we know everything. We're really just beginning to scratch the surface of what we are able and capable to do, and the results are really amazing. And so when we get past the box and idea of the human mind and become open, from there, from that foundation, we can go explore. When we discount anything we can't fit into the box of science or religion, beliefs, or what's socially acceptable, we find that so many people are being ridiculed. But we will all agree that if you cut your finger, it will heal automatically. You don't have to do anything to it. You might put a band-aid around it, but even if you leave it unattended, it will heal. It's when you cut off your arm, that's a different story. So what's the major difference between cutting your finger and cutting off the arm? Well, time. The amount of time, the amount of energy that it will take to heal that wound, that injury, before you bleed out, before you have a loss of life force. And so when we understand that the body already has a natural ability to heal, we can tap into that and really start shedding some of these layers that we have. The only real difference is the time that it would take to regenerate the body. But what we are working with is the part of you that is outside of this physical being, beyond our physical perception of space and time. This is what makes us quantum multidimensional beings. It's working with other aspects of yourself, your subconscious, your soul, higher self, whatever your concepts, those aspects of you are. But we all know that we have the ability to think, and that we have consciousness. We will all agree with some aspect of that. And so in 2005, there was a physician, Barry Marshall, that won the Nobel Prize in Physiology for his discovery of H. pylori. And it's a bacteria that causes bleeding ulcers. And when he found this, when he discovered that there was this bacteria causing the ulcers, he was not very well accepted by the medical community. He actually had to leave the United States, take up his research in, I believe it was Australia or New Zealand. But with something like bleeding ulcers, we're told that this is caused by stress in our lives. And even though, yes, we talked about stress, there are also other aspects